Face-off win by Kim LeMay. It's back into the corner. Callaway try to play it up along the half boards. It's held in back of the blue line. Sent right back in deep. Elliott giving chase. He lost it as Mulholland has it in his own zone. That pass will be fired down the ice, and on a fresh pad, that will go down for icing as Arnold able to beat it out. Face-off win, St. Catharines in their zone. Elliott trying to get that one on goal. It'll be bobbled on the far side. Trying to kick that puck out of the zone. They do, and they get it up and through center. Tristan Hill able to clear it out as he'll go for a change. Meanwhile, here comes St. Catharines back the other way. Could be a 2-on-1. Great play coming back into the zone. Mulholland. Brantford now. Humphrey. He'll fire it in. Saranac will steer it out front. Back out of the far side, battle for it. Arnold back in his own zone. Schonbacher for Arnold. Arnold will scan, fire it up on the far side, tipped in by Andrew Kennedy. Cunningham Lukes after it. Down low, he's got Hill. Hill back to Cunningham Lukes. McDowell. Didn't come to him. Now it'll come to him off the boards. He's out into the neutral zone. McDowell gets it in deep as St. Catharines taking over in their own zone. Caden Bell off the boards and out through center. The Ice Dogs second rounder. Here they come. A shot goes just wide by Liam Fisher. Kennedy battle for it along the boards. McDowell bounces on his stick. And now Brantford will reset back in their own end. Cunningham Lukes for Hill. Hill up. That pass intended for McDowell off the stick and tipped back down in. Brantford gets it back out at center. They'll go for changes up front. Cunningham, Luke's lone man back. Here's Fisher. Fisher coming in on the near side wing. A centering pass. What a save goal. Able to keep that right pad down and keep it out. Von Haywood. He'll control the play as it's up onto the far side through center. Cunningham Lukes missed it. He's got to get off for a change. Been out there for a long time. A centering pass comes out front. Getting tied up. Fabro's got it in the corner. Jamison Fabro. Good early pressure by St. Catharines. Up top to the point. Here comes a shot. Through traffic. It's off the outside of the goal. Battle for it. Back down low. Preston Swan lost it. It'll be flipped up through center. Fabro. And it's touched back by St. Catharines at center. Cloutier for Haywood. Haywood bobbled it at center. He gets dumped as Swan fires it in deep. Look out as Gull out to play the puck. Dropped his stick but able to reset. Papple flips it high off the glass and out. Fired right back in by St. Catharines. Caleb Frank dumps it down in. No Mateo Gauthier tonight for Brantford, so Frank going to have to carry a little bit more of the workload. That pass way too hot to handle on the near side. That was intended for Stippen. Back up top to the point it comes. Bookman up top a drive. It goes just wide. Christie gets hammered along the boards by Swan. Good pressure here by Brantford. Schonbacher, he tried to flip it out of the zone, could not. Fired right back in, around to the far boards. Centering pass up top, trying to spin and fire it on goal. It's Fandon. Here's Caleb Frank into the slot. Frank fires, good block out front. And St. Catharines will get it out and down the ice. They'll go for changes. And that'll be flipped down the ice. Icing by David Bookman. And a faceoff will come down inside the Brantford zone as we approach 6 minutes into this first period. Still scoreless here at the Gretzky Center on a Thursday night. Titans coming off a tough weekend last weekend, having to play the undefeated Redhawks and then the London Nationals. As here's Christie, and Christie a centering feed out front. Had a man in Wicklander, and he couldn't connect with it. Now it's back the other way for St. Catharines into the zone. Atkinson, he'll chip it down low. Centering feed, Frank couldn't find it, but it comes to the near side boards, and Christie will work it out through center. Gavin Christie poked off his stick back into the zone, giving chase. Wyatt Calloway circling out front of his own net. He'll fire it down. That's going to bounce off the boards on goal, so icing will be waved off. Both teams will make changes, and St. Catharines will start out of their own end. Atkinson. He'll fire it in deep. Player of the week a couple of weeks ago in the GOHL. Kim LeMay battles for it down in the corner, trying to free that puck up. He's got Calloway down there as well. Here's Giotto. He'll work it out on the far side. Tristan Hill in, drops for Kim LeMay. Quentin Kim LeMay tied up on the half boards. He'll stop and spin back, and it's picked off by St. Catharines. Can't get it out of the zone. It'll be fired back in. Haywood will retreat. Kim LeMay up in on the forecheck as Von Haywood will settle things down. Haywood up out of the far side, off a skate. It'll be fired right back into the zone by McDowell. Falcons will pick it up. They're up through center. Henderson leading the charge. There's a drive from Elliott, and James Gull will glove it down and hang on for a face-off. 12:31 to go here in the first period. Face-off down to the left of Gull. Tied up off the draw. Kennedy will fire it in, looking for Fisher. High off the stanchion, and it'll bounce out at center. Papel gets it in. Schonbacher trying to knife it back out at center. It does come out of the zone, so Brantford's got to retreat. St. Catharines time. Here's Jordan Schonbacher. Loses it in behind the goal. It'll be played up. Capel out at center. Arnold at the Titan logo rips it back in deep. Cunningham Lukes trying to knife that puck free down along the half boards. Brought out by St. Catharines. Here's Liam Fisher in tight. Fisher wraparound attempt getting across Gull. He's down. Loose puck. Took a moment to get a whistle, but James Gull finds it. And some extracurriculars down low after the fact. But Gull, another nice save. He's been tested, and he's been equal to it thus far as he hangs on for another face-off coming inside the Brantford zone. Gull on the season, 6-9-2, 2 shutouts to his name thus far, and a .903 save percentage. So it's worked out at center. Kim LeMay, he's got the bulk load of starts for this Brantford team to open the first half of this season. Tipped out through center. It'll be back down inside the blue line. There's Giotto. He'll work it down the right side and fire it in deep. Kim LeMay meets it on the far boards. Kim LeMay try to work it back up top to the point. It's held in. Buckman. He'll fire it back down. Kim LeMay has it below the goal line. Quentin Kim LeMay looking for options up top. Here's Gavin Christie. Kim LeMay had to come back for Christie, who had hopped up in the play. And Buckman will flip it through center, down inside the zone. Preston Swan back together for St. Catharines. He'll drop it off, back out front of the goal, and St. Catharines will start out of their own end. Here's Jamison Fabro through the neutral zone, poked off his stick by Christie. Christie will knife it down low. Stippen in a battle for it, can't clear the zone. Second opportunity, knocks it down and gets it out at center. Caden Bell meets him. Frank bumped off stride, and St. Catharines is back on the attack with Fabro. Here's Fabro trying to force it in on goal, bouncing off the stick, and Calloway will settle it down. Wyatt Callaway, midway point of this first period, held in at the blue line. St. Catharines still pressuring. That pass coming to the near side. Swan off his skate, kicks it down the ice himself, and again, both teams will make changes. St. Catharines quickly right back into the zone. Cloutier will dump it in deep. Back up top, toward to the point. Dimitro's shot dribbles wide. Mulholland can't clear the zone. Here comes a drive from Dimitro, bobbles on goal, loose puck out front, still can't clear. Good pressure, St. Catharines, another one toward the goal. Lang alone in the slot, it'll be finally batted down and cleared down by Brantford. Top line going to work for St. Catharines. James Gall will play it down low. Mulholland collects in the corner, up for McDowell. McDowell having trouble, he's double teamed, but gets it out at center. Haywood will settle it down. Haywood goes to Jake Henderson, who dumps it in. Mulholland, rink wide pass, able to connect. Crawl flips it in as Kappel heads in after it. Oon gets the cold shoulder down low, but they hold the zone back up top. Here comes a shot through traffic, tipped on goal by Capel. It was wide. Henderson spinning off a check down in his own zone. And it'll be flipped up and out through center. Big collision down in the St. Catharines zone. Meanwhile, back the other way, Gall makes the save. Atkinson almost had a break as he almost had that picked off, but Brantford dodging a bullet, and here they come back through center. Oon drops back, a shot on goal, bobbled by Saranic, able to hang on, and then hauled down out front is a member of the Brantford Titans. Looks like Matthew Oon. No penalties coming, and a face-off will come down inside the St. Catharines zone. Quick pace, quick moving first period here with 8:12 to go in the first. Bouncing puck on the half boards, back into the St. Catharines zone. Picked off Kim LeMay at center. Here's Jotto, couldn't get there. Kim LeMay battles for it. Still a loose puck. Now Elliott comes in to help out. Committed to play at Lake Superior State as Christie back in his own zone. Buckman will work it up for Christie on the half boards. Gavin Christie lost it down low in the corner. It'll be picked up in St. Catharines. Jordan Schonbacher will zoot through center. And Schonbacher is in offside. And a faceoff will come in the neutral zone here with 7:26 to go in the first period. Faceoff in the neutral zone. Fisher. It'll roll on goal. Gall's forced to cover with Kennedy parked out front. And a faceoff will come inside the Brantford zone. Centering feed out front. Good stick by Gall. It'll be picked back up by Brantford, and here's Frank. Frank. Wicklander. Return feed looking for it, going to the goal. It was intercepted there by Ben Arnold, and St. Catharines will skate three back the other way. Here's Andrew Kennedy. Kennedy, drop pass, quick shot right on out to challenge is James Gall. Turning it back the other way. Brantford's got four if they hurry. Wicklander drops for Frank, down the wing, back for Wicklander, out front. Good defense as it was blocked by Caden Bell, getting back in time. Frank holds the zone. He'll float one on goal just wide of Saranic. Dimitro, unable to get it out of the zone. Brantford just able to hold it in. And now finally they'll slap it out and down the ice. Bell's got to go back for it. Dimitro. They'll give way to it. Humphrey down and on the attack. As St. Catharines will move it back in behind the goal. Dimitro up at center. Bouncing puck. Christie collects just inside the blue line. Swan down the left wing. He'll flip it into the zone. Gall. He'll make that save on the far side. St. Catharines holding possession, stepping up his Bell to hold the blue line. Cloutier back for Bell. Caden Bell. He'll walk it to the near side and fire it in deep. Swan missed it. Cloutier back for it. And Cloutier lost it to Humphrey. And Brantford's out. McDowell. Hill, fresh off the bench, picks that pass up. He'll fire it right on goal. Ceramic catch and release. As we approach the 5-minute mark here to go in period number 1. Not much going on in this one thus far, as it'll be flipped high through center. Mulholland back in his own zone. Mulholland for Calway. Trying to get that puck through center. Mulholland drop pass. Calway. Stretch pass up through the neutral zone off the skate of Kim LeMay. Turn back the other way. DeWar after it. Mulholland. He'll settle it down in behind the Brantford goal and reset. Now he'll start up out of his own zone. Mulholland off the boards. Trying to spring Erjado. Able to tip it in. Icing's waved off. Henderson. Trying to play it around. Kim LeMay stopped that. Back to the line. Nobody there for Brantford, and it's out at center. Mulholland fires it in. Brantford will make changes up front as Papel and Capel hop over the boards. Atkinson a battle for it on the near side wall. Calvin Petrovsky flips it out of the far side. Henderson tried to go back to Petrovsky. DeWar spinning and firing. It's blocked out front. And flipped high by Calway through center. It'll bounce down the ice. Not enough for icing, though, as St. Catharines back to retreat. Henderson bumped off stride, but gets it across. Dewar gets it out at center. Nice stick by Atkinson. A 2-on-1. He's got Petrovsky. Dylan Atkinson fires right on. Able to hold on is James Gull as he squeezes it. And a faceoff will come deep inside Brantford territory. 3:44 to go here in the first, still scoreless. Faceoff will be down to the left of Gall. One back up top. Quick drive off the faceoff is blocked. Schonbacher has it. Elliott fanned on the shot. It dribbles into the corner. Cunningham Lukes plays it around. Arnold holds the zone. One toward the goal. It was tipped just wide. Schonbacher gets it onto the half wall. And now Brantford will carry it out through center. Stippen tried to flip that to Wicklander, who was going through center. That's turned back the other way. Cunningham Lukes. Caleb Frank's got to retreat in his own zone. Throws it out front. Elliott giving chase, but Frank able to get back in time. Frank having trouble, another turnover. St. Catharines right back in on the attack. Played up top, back to the point. Schonbacher, D to D as it hopped over the stick of Arnold. Elliott working it down in the corner. Stopping up and spinning off a check down low. Centering pass out front. Gall to save. Caleb Frank will just throw that puck high through center. Giving chase is Caden Wicklander down low. Wicklander trying to get away from Ben Arnold. So they get that puck pinned in. Loose puck will bounce back up top to the point, and Christie and Buckman, neither of them could get there in time. They got to drift back into their own zone. Hill collection coils back at center. Schonbacher trying to send it back the other way. Andrew Kennedy after it. Gall. He'll leave it for Buckman. Buckman up along the far side boards. It'll be flipped down into the zone. Tristan Hill heads in off on the forecheck as St. Catharines, though, will regroup. Under 2 to go now here in the first period. Still scoreless. Brantford and St. Catharines. Falc's got to get back on side. We'll give Buckman time out of his own end. That pass for Christie in behind him. He's got to go back to pick it up. Christie through center, knocked down, and here comes St. Catharines right back into the zone quickly. Liam Fisher back up top to the point. It's picked off and flipped out through center. Dimitro goes back for Kennedy. Missed him. And Kim LeMay will move it through. Buckman fanned on it. Bouncing puck at center. Fisher can't get there. And Kennedy will fire it in deep with 1 minute to go here in the period. Played back on along the far side. Buckman's got it tied up down there on the half wall. Kennedy able to dig it free for St. Catharines. Falcons looking for a late one here in the period. Caden Bell looking for a lane. Bell, he'll fire one. That's blocked and deflected to the near side. Chopping away at it. Trying to get it out of the zone. Haywood able to hold it in. Big collision at center. Meanwhile, St. Catharines back to work in the zone. 25 seconds to go. Fisher. He gets pinned in. Kim LeMay trying to work it free. Christie in there as well. Knocks his man down. Fisher chumps it along back up top to the point. Here's Bell with a lot of ice. Caden Bell. He'll walk in and fire a shot. It dribbles wide onto the near side. It's picked up and flipped out through center by Capel. 1 second to go. They'll fire it in, Bell, but that will do it for period number one here in Brantford. Not much going on through 20 minutes of play as the Titans and Falcons knotted at zeros. James Gull making a few big saves for his squad to keep this one scoreless. St. Catharines, more offensive opportunities, but again, unable to beat Gull in that first period. We'll step aside here from the Gretzky Center, and we'll be back for period number two. You're tuned into GOHL Hockey here in Brantford. Welcome back inside the Gretzky Center here in Brantford, period number 2. Set to get underway. Alec Murray with you, filling in for Reese Dumani here tonight as the Titans and Falcons zeros after 20. Off the face-off, it'll be fired down into the Brantford zone. James Gull there to play it, and now Brantford unable to clear the zone. Ben Arnold back at the point. That shot through traffic and tested early in the second period is Gull. Battle for it deep down inside the corner. Fabro up top. That drive is blockered aside by Gull. St. Catharines, good pressure here to open the period. Fabro trying to work it free on the far side. Cunningham Lukes will poke it free, and Brantford is back the other way. Oon makes a move through center, dumps it in. Brantford will get a quick change here. Meanwhile, it's St. Catharines offside, as Clotilde did, in fact, jump the gun. And a faceoff will come in the neutral zone, as both teams will make changes. Actually, they're going to bring this faceoff all the way back down inside the St. Catharines zone. It'll be to the left of Jacob Soranic. He and Owen Papp started the season splitting starts. Meanwhile, here's a turnover as that one, Caleb Frank sends it just high. And then Jacob Soranic kind of took over, and he's got the bulk of starts since then. He's been excellent for St. Catharines, the second-year netminder out of Oakville. Played junior hockey for the Rangers. Fired to the far side, worked down low. Wicklander back up top to the point, as Buckman unable to hold the zone. Yeah, so Caden Bell will reset in his own end. Bell works it up on the near side. Here goes Atkinson through center. He'll fire it in off the glass. Buckman back for it. He'll play it around for Frank. Frank gathers up top. He'll find Wicklander. Here goes Wicklander back the other way. Tried to make a move around Dimitro off the skate. Deflected and back up through center. Trayson Dewar. They'll move it back down ice, and Atkinson gets there in time. That'll be icing on Brantford. Or rather, St. Catharines checked that, and a face-off all the way back down inside the St. Catharines zone. Face-off will be, as mentioned, down inside the St. Catharines zone. Kim LeMay to take the face-off for the Titans, and looks like Atkinson's going to get tossed from the face-off dot. He is. Well, now they'll bring him back in. So he'll get a second opportunity. Off the draw, face-off. A shot right on. Soranic the save. It'll be flipped out at center. Knocked down. Petrovsky trying to get back in. Played back out through center. Dimitro fires it in. St. Catharines getting a much-needed change now. Back in on the attack in Brantford. Still looking for the game's first goal. Ali Mustafa bumped off stride. It'll be picked up there, and here goes Brantford through center. Fired down in deep into the zone by Hayden Mulholland. Quickly picked up by Mustafa along the near side boards. Ali Mustafa moving through, down in. Bouncing puck, Elliott couldn't corral it. Picked up here along the goal line, shoveling it on net. Gall the save. And now Brantford just trying to get it out of the zone. Henderson holds in it at the blue line. Mustafa down low for Elliott. Elliott tried to center it off a stick. Good job, Mulholland. St. Catharines cycling it down low, now back up top to the point. D to D, here's Henderson. Henderson will fire one wide of the goal. Mustafa on the far side circle. Up for Henderson in the high slot. Henderson a drive, gets through, and James Gull gloves it down and hangs on. 3 minutes into period number 2. Off the face-off, Brantford wins it, gets it out at center. Papple after it. It's flipped back in. Crow for Cunningham Lukes. Cunningham Lukes back for Crow. Trying to get it out of their own zone. That one flipped up, collected there into the zone. A shot blocker save made by Soranic. Another one coming toward the goal. Soranic had to be sharp with a left pad save. as Oon crashes into the St. Catharines goal. Meanwhile, here goes Fisher. Fisher for Kissel. Kissel back for Fisher on goal. And covering Gall in time is Fisher right on the doorstep. No penalties, no goals so far in this one. And a face-off to the left of Gall. Off the draw, it'll be picked up in the corner by Fisher. Fisher tried to dump it back out front. That's off a skate. Cycled back around for Arnold. Can't hold it in at the blue line. Almost lost it. Stippen was coming after it. Wicklander couldn't collect. Buckman can. Here's Buckman through center. Poked off at the blue line. And St. Catharines got a 2-on-1 back if they hurry. Kissel back the other way. Holds, drags, fires. He scores! Lucas Kissel finds the first one of the hockey game, and St. Catharines is on the board first here on the road as he'll toss that monkey into the stands. Kissel opting to hang on to it, and he beats Gall short side. And that's how we open this one in the second period, 4 minutes in. Caden Bell off the face-off. It's dumped into the zone. Played back out through center. Here goes Kim LeMay in. Kim LeMay, a drive, goes just high. Brantford holding the zone. Up top, Hill sends it over top of the goal. And now it'll be played back the other way. Fabro in. He gets poked off the puck. Two Falcons collide. They hold it in. A drive from Swan. Deflects off the shoulder of Gall and up. Back down low for it. Wraparound attempt to the far side. Bobbling puck. Hoon can't clear the zone. It'll be held in by St. Catharines. Back in on the presser, Fabro. Fabro up top. Here comes a drive off the post. Thrown back in deep. Cloutier off the boards to Bell. Just able to hold the blue line. Preston Swan has it down below the goal line. Here's Swan, a centering feed. That's off a skate. And Cunningham Lukes, and the Titans will get it out. Corral moves in for Kim LeMay. Makes a nice move. Kim LeMay hit the post. What a move. He almost had it tied. Brantford now down low. Bell trying to move it free. It'll be picked up. Callaway can't get it out. Second opportunity. He's got it on the half boards. It'll be picked up by St. Catharines, and Trayson Dewar will move it through center. He's poked off the puck. Turn back the other way. Here comes Capel. He gets tied up. Good back check coming in from Dewar. And St. Catharines just able to get it out through center. Petrovsky will move it through center. Back after it down low in the corner as the Titans will reset. Callaway across center, gets stood up. Here's Petrovsky picking it up. Calvin Petrovsky into the zone. He'll fire it around and down. Atkinson takes a bump. Has it down low, try to go back door. Up top, here comes a drive right on and goal. We'll glove it down and hang on for a face-off with 13:13 to go here in period number 2. St. Catharines wins the draw. Here comes a drive through traffic. That's blocked out front. Right back up top to the point. Held in by Haywood. Haywood gets it along the half boards. Elliott. He'll circle it back up top to the point. Henderson. Sifts it in. Haywood stepping up onto the half boards. Christie try to bump him off stride. It's picked up down low. And now Brantford will move out and up through center. Here's Humphrey. That's shot right on, and Saranac will hang on, and then here we go after the whistle. Henderson getting mixed up down low inside his own goal crease, and that'll cause a scene. And nothing coming from it. The linesman will settle things down, and the faceoff will come inside the St. Catharines zone here with 12:42 to go. Faceoff will be down to the left of Jacob Saranac. Flipped high off the glass and down the ice. That puck will roll and be icing on St. Catharines. St. Catharines 20 shots on goal, out shooting Brantford 20-8 thus far, almost at the midway point of this hockey game. Face-off win, Kim LeMay, far side, Christie, backdoor, head Wicklander, couldn't connect. Another one toward the net, loose puck, Frank out front. He got a shot off, and Saranac the save. This top line for Brantford has generated some opportunities. They haven't been able to beat Saranac just yet. Kim LeMay, that pass came out of the zone. It'll be offside Brantford. And a faceoff will come in the neutral zone. A couple of other games in action tonight. 3 other games to be exact. As we'll take a look at the GOHL out-of-town scoreboard here in Brantford. The Air Centennials a 2-1 lead over the Pelham Panthers. That game just underway in period number 2. As Lucas Santistefano has Pelham on the board in that one. 1-1 in Hamilton. St. Thomas and the Kilty Bees. That game just underway in period number 2. And then it's Fort Erie making the trip to Sarnia tonight. 4-0 Meteors, end of the first period in Sarnia. As Colton Radford's got 2 in that first period. As that one is fired and they score again. Cloutier off the post and in. And it's 2-0 St. Catharines. So that fourth line of the Falcons has been good tonight, and Matthew Cloutier will fire one home, and it's 2-0 Falcons here in the second period. Sarnia trying to avoid dropping 0-24 to start the season tonight. Not off to a great start. As it'll be worked up through center. Chopped down by Wicklander, down into the zone. Brantford looking for the next goal they needed. It'll be a big one. Back up top, and Saranac will hang on for a face-off. On the face-off, Brantford has it tied up down low. It'll be picked up by Stippen. Stippen for Kral. Back at the blue line. That shot, never saw it. Saranac, it floated over top of the goal. Chipped up and around, and St. Catharines, here they go again. Trayson Dewar, 3-on-1 for St. Catharines. In, fires, scores! And now it'll start to unravel here for Brantford in period number 2 as Trayson Dewar hangs onto it and beats goal 5-hole, 3-0 St. Catharines. They've opened the second. The first 10 minutes, they've found 3. So Dewar's got his 11th of the season, his 18th point of the season, and St. Catharines has a nice cushion here in the second period. Falcons back in on the attack. It'll be picked up there by Brantford. Can't clear the zone. Another one toward the net, and Gall will glove this one down. So 3-0 Falcons, Brantford. And it's going to be another 2-on-1 for St. Catharines. Here they come in onside. Out front to the backhand. Down is Golly, makes the save. And he keeps it at 3. Almost a third goal in the past 2 minutes. And James Gall able to shut the door, and a faceoff coming inside the Brantford zone. Battle for it down low in the corner. Elliott has it. Back up top to the point. Henderson, far side. They go back out front. It's tipped on goal, and Gall again down to cover. Face-off down inside the Brantford zone, and taking no chances, James Gall will cover again. 3-0 St. Catharines. All coming in this first half of period number 2 for the Falcons. Kissel, Clotilde, and Trayson Dewar. Oon turns it over at center. Here he comes into the zone, a drive off the skate of Ben Arnold. Papple trying to center it back out front, down low, and St. Catharines trapped back in their own zone. Arnold, he's got to spin back with it for Schonbacher. Schonbacher to Arnold. Arnold scanning out of his own zone, drops it back, and here goes Jordan Schonbacher through center. Up onto the far side, he hits Sam Lockyer. Back to the point, bouncing puck will be picked up and flipped high off the glass. Schonbacher's got to retreat. Arnold sifts it for Lockyer. Lockyer will dump it in. That line will go for a change as it's played along in the near side. Crawl for Cunningham Lukes. He'll drop it back. Aiden Crawl awaiting in behind the Brantford goal. Caleb Frank out of the ice. Brantford will get that line out there. And here's Frank back to pick it up in behind his own goal. Frank turns it over to Dimitro. Kissel picks it up over the blue line. Tried to feed it on for Andrew Kennedy. That's intercepted. Crowell. Cunningham Lukes will flip it up, but not out. Dimitro holds the blue line. Frank can't pick his pocket. Wicklander will fire it up for Caleb Frank. Now race for it. Caden Bell, speedy defender. He gets there first. Wicklander able to collect a centering feed out front. Loose puck in the slot. Buckman can't get there. He'll whack at it. Back down low. Frank. Wicklander back up top for Frank. Buckman a shot on goal. Pad save made Soranic. Caleb Frank back down low for Wicklander. Wicklander finds Frank on the near side dot. Frank will knife it back down low. That's picked off by Andrew Kennedy. He'll fire it up at center. Chopped down by Fisher. Icing's waved off. Fisher, first man on it down low. Buckman and Christie take him in. And Gavin Christie will come away with it. Christie for Frank. Frank lofts high through center. Here's Stippen into the zone. Stippen, he gets dumped along the boards, gets it out to Frank, back across, and it's picked off by Henderson. Henderson up at center, hits Andrew Kennedy. Bouncing puck, Kim LeMay stripped him of the puck, and now here goes Hill. Hill in onside, in the high slot. Hill a drive off the stick of Henderson and up and out of play with 6:50 to go here in period number 2. All Falcons in this one. 3-zip on top. St. Catharines coming in with an 18-2-2 record, 38 points, good for second in the Eastern Conference. Still 8 behind Cambridge. Of course, Redhawks 23-0. An opportunity this weekend for Cambridge to tie the record as that one's thrown on goal. Loose puck out front, down is Ceramic. Henderson coming in to swipe it away. Up for Preston Swan. Swan will play it up on the far side. Here goes Cloutier again. Cloutier stops, cuts to the middle, back across. What a play! They score! Or do they? It's going to be waved off. Looks like we got a penalty coming. What a play by Cloutier nonetheless, but it is going to be no goal as the official waving it off down in the corner. An interference penalty coming to St. Catharines. Jamison Fabro is going to be hauled off, and our first penalty of the game, and a big opportunity here for Brantford. So the Titans head to the power play. Opportunity to try and get one back here. Christie holds it in at the blue line. Gavin Christie. And we got another penalty coming here. St. Catharines penalty number 19, Jamison Fabro. 2 minutes for interference. Fabro interference double penalty, 15:46. So Brantford, big opportunity here is now Calvin Petrovsky, a double minor down to the play. And a 5-on-3 opportunity with a $1:40 to go in the first power play. So see if Brantford can string something together here. 5:40 to go in the period. Brantford down 3 as Frank enters the zone. Frank gets it down low. Stippen trying to set it up. Wicklander fires it around to the far side. It's held in back of the point. They're set. Kim LeMay to Frank. Frank up top to Christie. Christie back. Frank. Seam pass. That one is deflected off a stick. Kim LeMay gets back in time to hold it in. Near side pass for Frank. Holds it. Back up to the high slot. Kim LeMay. Far side tap pass. Christie drive just wide. Oh, they had Christie set up. Battle for it back down low in the corner. Frank around to the far side. Kim LeMay. Kim LeMay battles for it, and he can't hold it in. It's cleared. Brantford back into the zone. 25 seconds to go on the 5-on-3. Up top, Buckman near side. One-timer getting across Ceramic. Still loose. Oon battling for it. And he's able to cover some pushing and shoving after the fact. And with 19 seconds to go in the 5-on-3, face-off inside the St. Catharines zone. 2:33 to go on the double minor to Calvin Petrovsky. Cleared out through center off the face-off. One last rush in the 5-on-3 for Brantford. Buckman settles it down. Back up top. Papel to the point. Here's Hill. High slot, far side. Buckman lets it fly. Saranac the save. Rebound was there. Back to a 5-on-4 as Fabro's out of the penalty box. And Fabro, what a job to clear the zone back out at center. Buckman back for it. Buckman in onside for Oon. Oon drops it back to Kral. Kral up top. Spinning back on the half boards, Buckman. Far side as Capel has to take it off the boards, gets it back for Hill. Hill along to Buckman. Buckman skating in, he fires a shot. And the save is made by Saranac. With 3:36 to go in the period, $1:36 to go in the double minor to Calvin Petrovsky. Fired out of the zone by St. Catharines. Christie back to collect for Brantford. Christie poked off his stick. And Clotilde will fire a meatball back down the ice with about 3 minutes to go here in the period. Approaching 1 minute to go in the power play. Drop back Wicklander. Picked up by Frank. Caleb Frank into the zone. Frank gets around Schonbacher. Here's Frank down below the goal line, up top to the point. Stepping up is Kim LeMay. Kim LeMay down below the goal. He'll circle it up for Frank. Frank, high slot, Christie, far side, one-timer on the way, Wicklander scores! Big time power play marker for Brantford. They've cut the deficit to 2, and the Titans are on the board here at the back end of the second period. Courtesy of Caden Wicklander, it's 3-1. They finally get some momentum down in the zone. They work the puck around. Caleb Frank on the near side, able to set that up. And they find Wicklander in open ice, and he buries it 3-1. So a big-time momentum goal for Brantford at the back end of this period as that one is flipped up and out of play. Faceoff will be to the left of Jake Saranac. Off the draw, it's won by Brantford. Fired back in, Von Hayward has it. Haywood around to the near side, battle with Wicklander. That top unit stays out for Brantford, but it'll be picked up by Calvin Petrovsky. Petrovsky hits Mustafa, return feed for Trayson Dewar, just out of his reach. Mustafa centering feed up top, it bounces back to the point, and Schonbacher can't hold it at the blue line. He's got to go back out through center. Battle for it. Frank out front. Turn aside. Saranac back across. He got down and got that one too. Jake Saranac with 2 great saves late in the second period to keep it 3-1. So Christie draws an assist as well as Frank on the Wicklander power play goal. And with $1:40 to go here in the period, Brantford looking for more before the end of it. Dimitro has it down below the goal line. Kissel across the offensive blue line. He'll fire one wide of the net. Back around to the half wall. Dimitro stepping up to hold the zone. The captain fires it in deep. Kissel lost it to Buckman, and Buckman will work it through center. Buckman for Papel, far side, and Capel couldn't pull the trigger, and St. Catharines will fire it out at center. Gets by Christie, could be numbers here as Andrew Kennedy skips it across looking for Kissel, and it deflected high. Kissel couldn't settle it down. Buckman will move it back the other way. Tight angle shot turned aside by Ceranic. Buckman toward the goal, that's wide. Hill picks it up with 40 seconds to go. Back out front, save made by Ceranic. Rebound pops to the corner. Held in at the blue line. Here's Hill toward the goal. Tipped on net by Kim LeMay, and Ceranic the save. And now it'll work out at center. Christie spins off Fisher. Here's Jotto in after it. Out to play the puck is Ceranic. And it'll be flipped high through center. Mulholland back to pick it up for Brantford. Maybe one more rush here if they hurry with 18 seconds to go in the period. Here goes Mulholland, blows a tire out of his own zone. To the ice he goes. And looks like we're going to have a penalty coming here with 4.7 as it's touched up. It's going to be a hooking call, and it's going to be on St. Catharines. So Brantford's going to go to the power play if they can maybe work some magic here in the back end of the second period with 4.7. It'd have to be a clean face-off win. But if not, we'll start the third period with a fresh sheet of ice on the man advantage. So Petrovsky will go to the box again in this period. Face-off win. Here's Frank, a drive. Ceranic the save. And time will expire here in the second period. Through 40 here in Brantford as the Titans will start period number 3 on the man advantage. They do get one back, but all St. Catharines in that second period. 3 unanswered goals for the Falcons as they hopped out to a 3-0 lead. Brantford answered Caden Wicklander, and that's where we stand 3-1 through 40. We'll step aside here at the Gretzky Center. We'll be back for period 3. You're tuned to GOHL Hockey here in Brantford. Welcome back inside the Gretzky Center. Alec Murray with you. Third period underway. St. Catharines and Brantford. Thanks for joining us. A snowy night outside as St. Catharines. It's 3-1 lead through 40 minutes of play here in Brantford. Titans will start the third period with a $140 on the power play, looking to get right back into this thing. Fresh sheet of ice for him too as Caleb Franks through center. Frank will dump that puck in, heading in after it. Wicklander, he's the goal scorer for Brantford. It came on the power play at the end of that second period. Frank back around and it'll slide out through center. Kim LeMay's got to go back for it. Lockyer in on the forecheck. Christie. He'll motor through center by Atkinson and fire it in. And once again, St. Catharines will clear that one right on goal as Gall is going to fire it into the zone offside. With 1 minute to go on the man advantage, it's Calvin Petrovsky in the penalty box, and we'll see where they bring this face-off, if they bring it down or if it's in the neutral zone. Yeah, they're going to bring it back to the other side of center. 3 other games around the GOHL tonight. We'll get you an update on some of those scores. Couple of games you got an eye on if you're a Titans fan watching this one. And now they're going to decide to put this face-off to the other side, and that's to the dismay of Tyler Bilby behind the St. Catharines bench. He's not happy with the call. Nonetheless, that's where it'll be, and now they're going to blow it down. On the face-off, it'll be picked up by Christie. Christie to the far side, Stippins into the zone onside, feeds it in. Wicklander will turn back. Wicklander back to Frank, and Frank unable to hold the zone. St. Catharines will motor through center. Frank back to collect in his own zone. 40 seconds to go on the power play. Up for Wicklander at the center line. Wicklander drops for Christie, who will glide through center. Lost the puck, can't get in. Wicklander now will chip to himself. Bell takes him off the puck. It'll be fired off the boards, but not out, held in momentarily. Second opportunity, it'll be cleared again by St. Catharines. Not much of a power play for Brantford. Andrew Kennedy in scanning on Gall. Gall will leave it for Frank. One last rush if they hurry on the man advantage as Petrovsky set to hop out of the penalty box. Fired in and around. Saranic tried to slow it down. Stippin back at the blue line, fires it in deep. Petrovsky hops out of the penalty box. We're back to 5-on-5 as St. Catharines will move it in their own zone, and Caden Bell will fire it down, looking for Locke. You're out of his reach. Christie back up the ice. Oon tips it to the wrong stick, and Bell, he fires it through center. Chip back by Buckman, and here goes Oon in the zone. Oon's shot is deflected up and out of play by Jacob Saranic, and a face-off coming inside the St. Catharines zone early on third period as the Falcons kill the power play off, and we stay 3-1. Kissel, Clotilde, Dewar, and Wicklander, the goal scorers, all coming in that second period. Back up top, Fanning on the shot, able to hold the zone as Papel. That stick goes flying up in the air, out through the neutral zone. Meanwhile, it's St. Catharines back in with Vaughn Haywood. Haywood tried to throw it out front for Dewar, but couldn't collect it. Got it in behind the goal. Centering pass, good stick. Played back around to the point. Haywood wasn't there, and it's out through center. Three minutes expired here in the third period. Falcons will spin back in their own zone. Left up top, Atkinson. Chip back. Henderson now picks up for St. Catharines across the center line. Henderson battles it in deep. Hill in there for Brantford. He can't come away with it. Instead, it's Fisher. Back up top to the point. Arnold chopped at it, but it's out at center. Ben Arnold back for Kissel. Fires it on goal. Gall the save. Hill plays it off the boards. Not out. Second opportunity. Flipped high that time, and now It'll be Wake through center. Schonbacher back in his own zone, sends it back the other way. Neutral zone battle here to start this third. Back up through center. Knocked down by Fisher. Arnold, tap pass. It'll be Cunningham-Lukes picking it up. Cunningham-Lukes back along the boards for Arnold, who will spin back in his own zone. Schonbacher for Arnold. Ben Arnold. He'll move through the neutral zone and fire it in. Gall dumps it back to the near side corner. Kennedy out of his reach. Stippen after it. Held in at the blue line. That shot deflected into the near side corner. Bouncing puck will roll up top. Schonbacher just able to hold it in at the blue line. Kissel centering feed out front. Fisher couldn't get a stick on it and unable to get a shot off as now Hill will flip it up and out at center. Not for long as Kissel knifes it back in. Shoveled back down the ice. Icing is going to be waved off, saying it was touched up. Here's Fabro on a nice feed pass. Fabro into the backhand. Oh, what a goal! Jamison Fabro, what a move. Able to keep the defender to his backside. He's able to stick handle his way in and poke it in. And Fabro has made it 4-1 St. Catharines. They get that goal back and back to a 3-goal lead for the Falcons here in the third. Fired down inside the St. Catharines end. Back along up top to the point, held in. Here comes a drive from Christie. That was deflected. Bell able to work it out, and St. Catharines is back through center. Cloutier gets it into the zone. Flipped back by Papel. Brantford in. That shot deflects wide to the near side corner. That one across, and he's sent wide of the goal. Back around up top. Dimitro, they're back into the zone. That one will come out through center. Brantford holds the zone back around on the far side. Here's Frank throwing it to the near boards. Kim LeMay drops it off. Wicklander, far side. Frank, one-timer on the way. Didn't get to the goal. And now it deflects up. And we'll get a whistle. A penalty coming to St. Catharines. And Ty Bilby again not happy with the call. Brantford's going to hold as they go to the power play with 13:45 and a must-score situation for the Titans down 3 here in this third period. As it's Preston Swan being hauled off to the sin bin. And now Wicklander's going to get tossed from the face-off dot. So Kim LeMay will come in, Stippen will come to the right wing, and the face-off will be won back too cleanly as Christie's got to come back out at center. Brantford will reset. 30 seconds already expired here on the man advantage. It'll be Gavin Christie out of his own zone. Christie weaves through center, drops it back. Trailer, Frank will flip it in. Schonbacher there to pick it up for St. Catharines. Flips it up, not out. Wicklander holds it in momentarily, back down low. Centering feed, nobody out front though for Brantford. And Saranic will play it safe and cover with 1:12 to go on the man advantage. 12:57 to go in this one. And a good time to check our out-of-town scoreboard around the GOHL. We mentioned 3 out-of-town games, 4 being this one tonight, as St. Catharines will clear. Pelham has taken a 3-2 lead over the Air Centennials. That game 3 minutes into the third period, as Jack Havers has his 13th of the season to make it 3-2 for Pelham right off the bat in period number 3. It is 3-2 in Hamilton in favor of the St. Thomas Stars, as Wyatt Cameron and Miles Dunn add 12 and 14 on the season collectively for the Stars. Jacob Norman just added one for Hamilton to make it 3-2. That game a minute into the third period at the Dave Vanderchuk. Second intermission in Sarnia, 6-0 Fort Erie leads the Sarnia Legionnaires. Dylan Greenwald has 2. Colton Radford has a hat trick. He's got 5 in his past 2 games. And the Mets up 6-0 on Sarnia in the second intermission. That's a wrap at the out-of-town scoreboard in the Greater Ontario Hockey League here on a Thursday night. Not much of a power play for the Titans, as 3 seconds left with it. Petrovsky down to the Brantford zone. Will circle it back all the way back up top, and Swans out of the box with 11:40 to go, and St. Catharines kills another one off. Meanwhile, Petrovsky back into the zone. Drops it off for Kennedy. Little give and go. Tight angle drive on net. It'll be knocked down. Back to the point. St. Catharines holds. Jordan Schonbacher works it down below the goal line. Schonbacher into the slot. Fisher all alone. Fan on the drive. Another penalty coming down in the corner. And it's going to be on Brantford. Slashing is going to be the call on the Brantford Titans. And St. Catharines is going to go to the man advantage, as Tyson Papel will head off for 2. And see if Brantford can match St. Catharines and kill one off. Soaked into the near side corner. Boards trying to dig it free. Dewar. Back up at center. Here's Wicklander into the zone shorthanded. Wicklander, drop feed. Arellano to the backhand. Couldn't get a shot off. Nice play by Caden Bell defensively. 40 seconds already gone to the man advantage. And it'll be cleared by Brantford. Played back down. It'll be picked up here by Atkinson. He'll fire it off the glass and in. 45 seconds to go on the man advantage. Christie sent around. It'll be down the ice and cleared by Brantford, and they'll go get changes. Elliott turns it back at center. He's across the offensive blue line. He'll turn back on the half boards. Elliott to the point. Schonbacher. Schonbacher back for Elliott. 10 seconds to go on the man advantage. Here's Elliott circling up top. Elliott goes back across. That one centered out front for Fisher. Couldn't get a stick on it. Fisher parked out front all alone in a battle. Another one coming toward the goal. And it'll be flipped up and through center. Would have had him on a break, but no. St. Catharines Elliott on the half boards, leaves it there for Atkinson. Under 9 to play in the third. Into the slotted drive. Glove save made by Gall. Flip back up top. Arnold dishes off for Elliott. Elliott back for Arnold. Look at the ice for Ben Arnold. He'll let it fly. Ben Arnold scores. Ben Arnold makes it 5-1, and that just might ice this one here in Brantford. What a shot. And the Titans now trail by 4. Henderson off the faceoff will flip it in. Big time hit out front of the St. Catharines bench. Wicklander pops right back up as it'll be dumped into the Brantford zone. Rolling puck back up top to Henderson. Spinning it back is Schonbacher. That one comes across the slot. Haywood a drive right on. Save made by Gall. And we got another penalty coming here in this one. So another power play for St. Catharines. They score. Trayson Dewar at the side of the net. Buries it. 9 seconds into the man advantage, and they're pouring it on here in the third period. 6-1 Falcons as Dewar has his second of the night. So 13th of the season for Trayson Dewar. And St. Catharines now having fun with this one, and 7:37 to go in the third. Six-1 St. Catharines as Brantford will work it across the blue line. McDowell for Mulholland, who fires it in deep. Back along the near side corner, Andrew Kennedy will play it in behind the goal. Fisher. And Dimitro now will start out for Kennedy. Kennedy up at center, hits Kissel. Fisher after it on the near side wing. And it's deflected up off the mesh and up and out of play with 6:42 to go. And St. Catharines trying to salt this one away. Score stands. They'll get their 19th win of the season. Points number 39 and 40 for the Falcons. As we mentioned, still trailing Cambridge. But with a win tonight, only by 6 points in the standings in the Eastern Conference. Brantford, who is slotted into 7th after a slide by the Caledonia Corvairs the past couple of weeks, will drop to 9, 12, and 2. 2 points up on Caledonia for that 7th spot. And as Brantford, we mentioned it, a tough weekend last weekend, a couple of tough matchups against London and Cambridge. And now St. Catharines, so quite a stretch in the schedule for the Titans here in November, as that one is right on. And the save is made by James Gall, who hangs on for a faceoff. Doesn't get any easier for the Brantford Titans this weekend. The Elmira Sugar Kings in town, 1 o'clock on a Saturday. The second place team in the Western Conference comes to the Gretzky Center. So talk about a really tough schedule here, end of November into December for Brantford. And they'll look to get back at Elmira on Saturday. Faceoff will be down to the right of goal. Flipped up through center. Cloutier can't get to it. It's back for Schonbacher. Schonbacher hits Cloutier, and a 2-on-1 for St. Catharines. Cloutier holds onto it, tried to go short side. He had Preston Swan with him to the goal. Opted to hang on, and he fires it just wide of the net. All the way around and back down Schonbacher. Christie will pick it up. Battle for it. He's got it at center. This is the first of 3 on a weekend swing for St. Catharines. They'll get Welland home on Friday night, so tomorrow at the Seymour Hannah, as that one's on goal, Saranac will cover and hang on. And then they go to Waterloo for a Sunday afternoon game against the Siskins. So a lot of intriguing cross-division games to end the month of November here in the Greater Ontario Hockey League, as this faceoff comes deep inside Falcon territory to the left of Jacob Saranac. Back down into the zone after it is Atkinson. Poked off his stick by Hill. Stippen can't get around his man. A shot coming through on the point, wide of the net. Under 5 to go here in the third period. Far side pass, Petrovsky had it bobbled on his stick. And we got a scrum at center. Henderson in a conversation with Stippen, as Petrovsky back out at center. It's absolutely not the test Brantford wants at center. We got a penalty coming. It's going to be on Brantford, as it'll be across the offensive blue line. Here's Atkinson in. They blow it down. Save possession as we get the call, and then Stippen goes right back after Henderson. And the two of them exchange pleasantries down inside the Brantford zone. And again, if you're Stippen, Henderson, probably not worth the time. Again, you got a big game against Elmira coming up on Saturday. So back to the power play go the Falcons, as Ethan Arajado will head off for 2. It'll be picked up off the face-off and cleared out at center. Titans will send it down the length of the ice. Saranac will leave it there for Calvin Petrovsky. 30 seconds already gone in the man advantage. We'll poke over our out-of-town scoreboard one more time before the end of this one at our next stoppage in play, as here's Petrovsky on his offhand. He's got it down below the goal line. Picked up there, up top in the slot, extra pass. That one, looking for the hat trick. Dewar, they're trying to set him up for it. Good save made by Gall. Mustafe has it for Dewar. Down along the goal line, between the legs, and Gall shuts it down. And now we go again out front. This time, James Gall wants in on the action, and the linesman having to settle things down. And Sam Lockyer, the veteran, in the middle of it. Tyson Papel as well, and they'll separate the two. Three other games around the GOHL today, or tonight we should say. Lucas Merrick's tied it in the third period. Pelham and Ayr knotted at 3. Back end of the third period at the North Dumfries Community Center. It's 4-2, St. Thomas ahead of Hamilton, as Elon Legalick has his 6th of the season to give St. Thomas a little bit of extra padding in that one at the Dave Anderchuk. And it's 7-0 Fort Erie over Sarnia, who's in danger of dropping to 0-24 on the season, as Sam Tonelli's 13th coming early on in the third period in that one in Sarnia. 3 minutes to go here. St. Catharines holding a commanding 6-1 lead. Elliott over at center. He'll flip it into the zone. Elliott goes into the end boards hard, and it'll be cleared by Buckman down the ice. 20 seconds to go on the man advantage. Turnover in behind the goal, but blowing a tire. And we got a penalty coming. Henderson gonna draw a call. That's a cross check. He got to the upper half as he's down to the ice, and now a scrum ensuing down in the corner. And again, Henderson not a guy worth the time if you're the Brantford Titans. The original call is on Henderson. Wicklander gave him a two-hander up top, and he's going to be sent off. So Henderson, the original call, Wicklander, the retaliation. 23 seconds left to go on the St. Catharines power play in the minor to Ethan Arejano, and now we'll sort this one out. Down at ice level. As frustration's boiling over here for the Brantford Titans. It's a team that's been plagued by sickness this week. A couple of top guys out of their lineup. Key one, Matteo Gauthier, out tonight for Brantford. Started the season with the Oakville Blades, now here in Brantford. What a get for the Titans, but out tonight. So one of their top three forwards not in the lineup. And now the discussion continues down at ice level, as Mitch Dimitro, St. Catharines captain, over to have a conversation with the official. It's going to be a 5-minute major to Caden Wicklander, and again, that's a tough loss and a tough take if you're the Brantford Titans, who we mentioned are hurting right now lineup-wise, and Caden Wicklander, one of those top guys you don't want to lose. He's done for the rest of this one, at least. And now a conversation down at bench level here. And we'll see what they decide to go. .248 left to play in this third period. And a 6-1 St. Catharines lead. Trayson Dewar, a pair of goals. A 3-goal second for St. Catharines after a scoreless first period has kind of propelled them. They haven't looked back in this one. And it looks like it's going to be 5-on-3. So in what was going to be a Brantford Titan offset for the last 23 seconds and then an abbreviated power play has turned into a retaliation call, and it's going to be a 5-on-3 for St. Catharines here for 23 seconds. Oh, no, they're going to throw Christie over the board, so he's going to go serve for Wicklander, who was thrown out of the hockey game. Fabro, Swan, and Cloutier out there with Dimitro and Haywood on the back end for St. Catharines. Face-off win back. Here's Mitch Dimitro. Dimitro, far side, Vaughn Haywood. Haywood back for Dimitro as they creep in. High slot. Haywood holds. Near side. Cloutier. Try to go back out front. It'll flip on goal. James Gull there to knock it down, and face-off will come inside the Brantford zone. Face-off will be to the right of Gull. St. Catharines will win it. Haywood stepping out of the penalty box. Arejano back to a 5-on-4 as Arajado can't clear the zone. Yes, they do. It's offside. Just coming out with the offensive blue line, so the faceoff will come in the neutral zone, and St. Catharines will finish this on the power play. Fabro will work it down low. Under 2 to play in this one. Back up top to the blue line. Here's Dimitro. Haywood will let it fly wide of the goal. Back around to the near side half boards. Papel can't free it up. Dimitro comes back to him. He fires, and it's fought off by Gall. And it's up and out of play with $1.24. And now Oon going at Jordan Schonbacher. Preston Swan says, I won't have any of that. And the linesman and one official will step in between the two of them. Both teams tonight 1 for 4 on the power play. Shots on goal, 40 for St. Catharines, 28 for Brantford. Last minute to go here on Thursday night, here at the Gretzky Center. 6-1 St. Catharines. It'll be worked into the zone. Arnold lost it. It'll be bobbled out at center. Fisher across the offensive blue line. Gets by his man, trying to cut on goal. It was poked off his stick. It'll be flipped up and brought out at center. Sparnay stopped up across the St. Catharines blue line, and Fabro will turn back. Here's Elliott at center. He'll work across into the zone of Brantford. Elliott for Fisher. Back up top to the point. It's held in by Arnold. Schonbacher bobbled over his stick. As we're under 5 seconds to go here in this one, they'll pin it along the near side corner, and that will do it. Final horn will sound to end this one. St. Catharines, the second team to reach 40 points in the Eastern Conference, as they get their 19th win of the season here on the road over the Brantford Titans by a score of 6-1. Brantford now 3 straight losses